Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a breaking geopolitical shift that has sent waves of shock and confusion straight into the heart of the Kremlin. Sweden, once known primarily for neutrality and diplomacy, has just executed a massive strategic move that changes the balance of power in Europe. Russia didn't see it coming, and the implications stretch far beyond military upgrades or political announcements. This is about deterrence, alliances, long-term strategy, and a message to Moscow that cannot be ignored. Sweden's latest decision didn't emerge overnight. It's the result of years of watching Russian aggression grow, assessing vulnerabilities, working quietly behind the scenes with partners, and preparing for the moment when silence would no longer be enough. Now, that moment has arrived, and Sweden's response is bold, precise, and game-changing. The Kremlin's reaction has been a mix of denial, nervous rhetoric, and diplomatic noise, but the shock is obvious. Russia understands that Sweden has stepped into a new era, one where Stockholm refuses to be intimidated. For years, Russia perceived Sweden as cautious but predictable, a country that invested in defense but still held onto old ideas of neutrality. Moscow likely assumed this mindset would continue indefinitely, but a series of regional provocations, repeated airspace violations, cyber attacks, and increasing pressure on nearby countries forced Sweden to reconsider its position. The government knew that staying passive wasn't only risky, it was dangerous. When Sweden finally revealed its decision, the depth of the strategic shift stunned analysts across Europe. This wasn't just about joining alliances or purchasing a few new systems. It was about reorganizing national defense, deep integration with partner militaries, expanded intelligence sharing, and the deployment of capabilities that directly counter Russia's strength. Suddenly, the Baltic Sea, one of Russia's most important strategic areas, no longer leaned in Moscow's favor. A major part of Sweden's move involved strengthening its rapid response capabilities. Sweden announced new investments in coastal defense systems, long-range strike platforms, and advanced surveillance technology. These upgrades give Sweden the ability to track, deter, and counter any Russian military movement near its borders. Russia has relied for decades on intimidation tactics in the region, but Sweden has now built a defense structure designed specifically to resist that intimidation. At the center of this transformation is Sweden's closer military alignment with NATO and the United States. Although Sweden spent years outside the alliance, recent threats made it clear that staying unaligned no longer offered safety. By integrating its forces with NATO's command structure, Sweden gains access to shared intelligence, coordinated defenses, and rapid military support in the event of a conflict. This cooperation dramatically raises the cost of any Russian aggression. The Kremlin had long warned Sweden against this path. Russian officials issued statements, threats, and subtle warnings for years, believing that fear would keep Sweden neutral, but the opposite happened. Every warning, every cyber intrusion, every hostile maneuver near Swedish territory pushed Stockholm further toward the Western defense network. When Sweden finally made its move, Russia realized it had unintentionally accelerated the very outcome it hoped to avoid. Another central element of Sweden's strategy involves the modernization of its air force. Sweden's Gripen fighter jets have always been respected for their agility, low operating costs, and advanced electronic warfare capabilities. But the newest upgrades represent a major leap forward. Enhanced sensors, extended range, and improved data fusion give Sweden a powerful tool against Russian air defenses and fighters. Russian pilots and radar operators know exactly how difficult the Gripen is to counter. With more jets entering service, The balance in the skies over the Baltic is shifting. Sweden is also investing heavily in naval strength. The Baltic Sea is a tight, complex area where submarines play a critical role. Sweden's A-26 submarines, built with stealth features, advanced sensors, and silent propulsion systems, are among the quietest in the world. These submarines are specifically tailored for the Baltic environment, giving Sweden a massive advantage in underwater operations. The Kremlin despises these submarines because they threaten Russia's naval routes while remaining extremely difficult to detect. Cyber defense plays an equally important role in Sweden's new strategy. Russia has frequently used cyber attacks to disrupt governments, energy sectors, and media networks across Europe. Sweden has responded by creating one of the most advanced cyber defense systems on the continent. Real-time monitoring, AI-assisted threat detection, and international data sharing agreements make it harder for Russian hackers to operate undetected. Sweden's cyber shield now protects not only the nation, but also its partners. But what truly surprised Moscow wasn't just the military upgrades. It was the speed and coordination behind Sweden's actions. Sweden moved in silence, kept its preparations discreet, and then unveiled a complete strategy in one decisive moment. Russia expected gradual steps. Instead, Sweden delivered a comprehensive restructuring that instantly strengthened its defensive posture and left Moscow scrambling to interpret the consequences. A key part of Sweden's message is that deterrence is essential for peace. Sweden isn't seeking confrontation, it isn't provoking conflict. Instead, it's signaling that any form of aggression will be met with resistance far stronger than Russia anticipated. This principle reflects Sweden's long-term approach, prevention through strength. By making itself a difficult target, Sweden reduces the chance of conflict and protects not only its territory but the entire Baltic region. The geopolitical impact extends beyond Sweden's borders. Other Nordic countries, Finland, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland, are closely aligned with Sweden's new posture. Together, they form a highly coordinated defense network that Russia cannot easily challenge. This Nordic alliance, combined with NATO support, creates a protective ring around the Baltic Sea that limits Russia's freedom of movement. Sweden's move strengthens this ring and makes it nearly impenetrable. From Russia's perspective, the most worrying factor is the increased transparency around its activities. Sweden's surveillance systems and intelligence sharing agreements now give Western allies a clearer view of Russian troop movements, naval deployments, and cyber operations. The Kremlin has always relied on ambiguity and surprise. Sweden has reduced that advantage significantly. Another layer of Sweden's strategy involves strengthening homeland defense through public preparedness. Sweden reintroduced civil defense programs, trained civilians for crisis scenarios, rebuilt emergency infrastructure, and expanded national resilience. This makes it far harder for Russia to destabilize Sweden through hybrid tactics or misinformation campaigns. A resilient society is a major threat to Russian strategy because it eliminates weak points Russia often exploits. Russia's state media has attempted to minimize the significance of Sweden's move, calling it unnecessary, provocative, or Western manipulation. But the rapid shift in tone from Moscow reveals the truth. The Kremlin didn't expect Sweden to act with this level of confidence or strategic clarity. The shock stems from the realization that a once neutral nation is now a leading force in regional security. Sweden's decision also highlights a growing awareness across Europe. Countries that once believed diplomacy alone could protect them are now investing heavily in defense, cooperation, and preparedness. Sweden's transformation serves as a model for how smaller nations can resist larger, more aggressive powers. and that message resonates far beyond Northern Europe. The economic side of Sweden's move is equally important. Increased defense investment boosts domestic industries, creates technological innovation, and strengthens national resilience. Russia understands that Sweden's defense sector is one of the most advanced in Europe. This gives Sweden not only military strength but also economic independence from Russian pressure. Energy security is another critical component. Sweden has diversified its energy sources, reduced dependency on external suppliers, and increased renewable capacity. This prevents Russia from using energy as a weapon, a tactic it frequently employs against other European countries. Sweden's energy independence is a strategic blow to the Kremlin's influence, but perhaps the most powerful aspect of Sweden's move is psychological. Russia long believed it could intimidate or isolate Sweden. Instead, Sweden responded with unity, strength, and a level of national resolve that Russia did not anticipate. This shift sends a message to Moscow: intimidation no longer works. Sweden stands firm. In the broader context of European security, Sweden's transformation marks a turning point. The Baltic region is now one of the most fortified areas in the world. NATO's presence, combined with Nordic coordination and Sweden's new capabilities, creates a formidable barrier against Russian expansionism. The Kremlin must now recalculate its strategy. The impact on Russian military planning is significant. Any aggressive action near the Baltic Sea now risks triggering a coordinated response from multiple nations. Sweden's surveillance systems provide early warning. Its air force counters aerial threats. Its navy dominates underwater environments. Its cyber defense prevents silent attacks, and its alliances ensure rapid reinforcements. This multi-layered defense architecture makes Swedish territory one of the hardest in the region to threaten. Russia is also concerned about Sweden's intelligence capabilities. Sweden's Signals Intelligence Agency has a strong track record of monitoring Russian communications and tracking military operations. With deeper cooperation between Sweden and NATO, Russian activities are now under even greater scrutiny. This limits Russia's ability to operate covertly near Swedish or NATO borders. Sweden's message to the Kremlin is simple: the era of vulnerability is over. Sweden refuses to be intimidated, manipulated, or pressured. Instead, it has become a leading force in shaping the security environment of Northern Europe. Russia must now adapt to this new reality. The long-term effects of Sweden's move will continue to unfold. The Baltic region will see increased cooperation, more joint exercises, and deeper integration between Sweden and its partners. Russia will attempt to counter this through propaganda, military signaling, and diplomatic complaints. But the strategic advantage now lies firmly with Sweden and its allies. Sweden's transformation also inspires other nations facing similar threats. It shows that strength, clarity, and cooperation are powerful tools against aggression. It demonstrates that even smaller nations have the ability to reshape regional dynamics when they commit fully to defense and resilience. The Kremlin's shock is understandable. Sweden didn't just change the game, it rewrote the rules. The country that Russia assumed would remain cautious has now stepped into a leadership role that challenges Moscow's ambitions, and this shift isn't temporary. It's a long-term strategy built on unity, purpose, and determination. In the end, Sweden's game-changing move sends a message that resonates across the global stage. Peace requires preparedness, freedom requires defense, and sovereignty requires the courage to stand firm in the face of intimidation. Sweden has embraced that responsibility, and the world has taken notice. This moment marks a new chapter in European security. Sweden's decision reshapes regional power dynamics. strengthens collective defense, and delivers a direct message to the Kremlin. Sweden stands strong, and it will not be pushed aside. The shock in Moscow is not just about what Sweden has done, but about what Sweden is becoming. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more updates, and let me know in the comments what you think Sweden's next major move might be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.